5%, according to the research.
When do you expect the judge to rule, Nancy?
The clerks really want a decision as soon as possible so they can get the ballots ready. So I'm going to guess next week. Certainly it won't be any more than 2 weeks.
And here's one more element as we started this segment. Here comes Bob Menendez. He says he might run as an independent.
Yeah. He lost the support of the party bosses, so he has no chance of winning the Democratic primary. New Jersey has a sore losers law, so if he lost the primary, he wouldn't be allowed on the ballot in the general as an independent, but he can run as an independent if he doesn't run in the primary. He certainly won't draw many Republican voters to his cause, so all I can figure is that he just wants to stick it to the Democrats for deserting him, because any votes he gets are likely to be Democratic votes and pull away from the Democratic candidate. The last poll had him at 9%. And then, there's another interesting tidbit. Let me just throw this out for you, Michael. In Hudson County, Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop, who's running for governor, changed his endorsement from Tammy Murphy to Andy Kim. And he's also come out against the county line. For a major political figure to change their endorsement, it's just unheard of.
Even for Hudson County.
Yes.
I covered politics in Louisiana, and I thought I'll leave it there. WNYC's Nancy Solomon. Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Michael.
WNYC supporters include Suffs, a new musical coming to Broadway this March about the radical suffragists who fought for women's right to vote and changed the course of history. Produced by Hillary Clinton and Malala Yousafzai. More at suffsmusical.com.
On the next All of It, it's Women's History Month, and we're celebrating by airing some of our favorite segments. Hear conversations with people like Shana Taub, the composer of Suffs, musician Corinne Bailey Ray, and the author of a biography of groundbreaking war correspondent Maggie Higgins. Join us for All of It weekdays at noon on WNYC.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Paul Henley. On today's NewsHour, can American pressure finally broker a ceasefire in Gaza? And imminent elections in Senegal, long seen as a rare West African bastion of democracy. BBC NewsHour at 9 on WNYC.
32 and sunny out there right now. Sunny and 45 for a high today. Feeling colder than that because of the wind. A lot of rain on the way tomorrow. A flood watch has been issued all the way till Sunday morning at 2 o'clock. It's 8:51.
No immigration policy? No problem. Just use the budget.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Buyside from the Wall Street Journal. Buyside's reviews and recommendations help consumers decide how to spend their time and money at WSJ.com/Buyside. And by Disney, announcing that Disney will host its annual meeting of shareholders on April 3rd with a board of directors election. Learn more about voting at VoteDisney.com.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore, in for David Brancaccio. Immigration in a sec. First, there are 2.2 billion active iPhones in the world, and the U.S. Department of Justice plus 16 attorneys general are suing the company that makes them, Apple, accusing it of exploiting an illegal monopoly. Marketplace's Lily Jamali has the latest.
Apple's so-called walled garden has helped make it a $3 trillion company. But this web of gadgets, chiefly the iPhone and all the services that come with it, also makes the Apple ecosystem hard to quit. That's the allegation brought by federal prosecutors on Thursday. They say Apple keeps users hooked on the iPhone by undermining apps, products, and services that would make users less reliant on the device. The effect of this alleged monopoly, higher costs for consumers and developers, among others. Apple said in a statement that the Department of Justice lawsuit, if successful, would hinder its ability to create the kind of technology people expect from it, in which the company's many offerings intersect. Apple said it will vigorously defend against the suit. I'm Lily Jamali for Marketplace.
Trouble for Apple across the Atlantic, too. The EU's antitrust chief Margaret Vestager earlier this week warned Apple it would investigate new fees the company is imposing on app makers. Medical debt. It is the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States and affects almost a third of working Americans. Yes, 90% of people do have some form of insurance, but deductibles and copays can be very high. Some drugs can be exorbitantly expensive, even with insurance, let alone without. All of this can add up to a serious financial burden. So much so that the need for insurance is influencing the major life decisions that people make. Allison Sesso is president and CEO of RIP Medical Debt, a nonprofit charity that helps people burdened by healthcare costs. She spoke at a Marketplace Morning Report special panel on medical debt, moderated by Marketplace's David Brancaccio.
There's a lot of people that aren't able to leave their jobs, that aren't able to be mobile, that stick in the same place and make different choices about their, upward mobility based on that, holding on to that insurance just so that they can have access to care, be it pharmaceuticals or otherwise.
That's Allison Sesso, a consumer rights advocate, speaking at Marketplace's Health and Wealth panel. We'll bring you more from that next week. Now let's do the numbers. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all down in around a 1 to 0.3% range. Dow futures down 33 points. The yield on the 10-year Treasury is 4.224%. And SpaceX, that's Elon Musk's company with the plan to eventually get people on Mars, is accused of requiring current employees as well as employees who were fired or laid off to sign illegal agreements. The National Labor Relations Board says the agreements include confidentiality and non-disparagement clauses that go so far as to interfere with workers' rights to advocate for better working conditions. SpaceX is privately held, so no stock update.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is currently looking for individuals in a variety of career fields who are interested in building a career and joining an inclusive and unique culture. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers. And by Brains On, the wildly popular podcast for kids is coming to a theater near you with a hilarious science-themed live show. More at brainson.org/events.
The House is set to vote today on a $1.2 trillion spending package, just ahead of a deadline for a partial government shutdown. It includes funding for the Departments of Defense, State, Labor, and Health and Human Services, and for the Department of Homeland Security. It also includes a significant bump in funding for border security. Marketplace's Kimberly Adams has more.
It was just a couple of weeks ago that Congress failed to pass a bipartisan immigration and border security bill. So the almost $62 billion in discretionary spending for DHS now kind of looks like a border security bill light.
This is one of the most astounding immigration enforcement increases that we've seen.
David Beer is Associate Director of Immigration Studies at the Cato Institute.
You're talking about almost a 35% increase in the Border Patrol budget.
Part of that is almost $500 million to more or less double the size of the force by hiring 22,000 more Border Patrol agents.
I'm skeptical of their ability to do that. We've seen Border Patrol try to recruit and be unable to do so, but this is certainly a huge amount of money.
The funding package also includes more than $100 million for border security technology, plus
some funding to fight the asylum backlog at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Julia Jalot is an associate director at the Migration Policy Institute. She says while there's lots of cash for border and immigration enforcement,
we also in the prior funding bill saw that there was a decrease in the funding for immigration courts.
The opposite of what's needed to process that backlog. Jenny Murray is president and CEO of the National Immigration Forum and says the focus on enforcement at the southern border ignores other pressing immigration concerns.
It actually doesn't give quite enough resources to the other cities around the country that are also dealing with migrants and newcomers.
Without more comprehensive immigration reform, annual appropriations bills seem to be the only path for movement. But
this isn't the best way to solve the issue. It might be a Band-Aid for a short term, but likely this will also soon prove not to be a solution.
Because, says Murray, you can't enforce your way out of a border crisis. In Washington, I'm Kimberly Adams for Marketplace.
The proposed spending bill would also bar funding for UNRWA, that's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, until March of 2025. The agency provides shelter, food, and water to Palestinians. In January, the White House said it was temporarily pausing new funding to UNRWA after Israel accused 12 of the agency's 13,000 employees in Gaza of participating in the deadly October 7th Hamas attack. Our executive producer is Kelly Silveira. Our digital producer is Dylan Mietinen. Our engineers are Brian Allison and John Brewington. And in New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.